was simply the most profound thing. This notion that my aura is attracting what belongs to me, what's coming my way, and then my body is going to say yes or no. And that's the sorting mechanism, and I can trust that. It became a radical experiment very fast.
Hey, party people. Long time no chat. I feel like it's been a slower time. I think the winter is good to be slower, but I get really annoyed because I feel like I need to get things done. But that's just my hey, not self-talk. And that segues us right into this episode. I have an awesome guest today. He found me on Facebook, as many people do, and we just kind of geeked out over. We both have podcasts, and I think it's because we both like to share. Hello, Defined Throat. And for me, this is the easiest way and the best way to share and talk about human design with the people that enjoy it. So everybody welcome Ian. Hello, 1-3 generator here. Woo woo.
Hello.
He's joining me from up north somewhere. I'm in the middle of the United States. We'll keep it vague like that. Everybody knows where I'm from, so it doesn't matter. So yeah, Ian is here. I don't get a lot of generators on the podcast, to be honest.
Okay.
I feel like when I first learned about human design and generators and manifesting generators, that it was I kind of heard that because the world is more built for y'all a little bit, they don't necessarily come to systems like human design or things like that and are looking for help, because you kind of fit in a little bit. But I think where human design is indispensable for the generator is when it comes to like boundaries and yes and no and responding rather than making things happen. Because that's got to be frustrating as a generator, especially a motorized generator such as yourself, to be here to respond. Mm-hmm. Is that how do you feel about that?
Oh my God. It was what I had been seeking my entire life up until design said hello. I had no idea that I could simply wait to respond. I thought I had to figure it all out. I thought I had to know what I was doing and where I'm going in life and then go there. And then I happened to learn that I'm a receptive personality with strategic unconscious design. And so for me to be able to trust my body and to trust my response in life, the fact that I don't have to go out of my way and initiate anything, that I can wait to respond, was simply the most profound thing. This notion that my aura is attracting what belongs to me, what's coming my way, and then my body is going to say yes or no, and that's the sorting mechanism, and I can trust that. It became a radical experiment very fast.
Was it scary? You don't sound like it was scary.
Well, it helped me come to grips with how terrifying life fundamentally is for the first line, and how I don't have to be afraid because I can instead truly cognize. I can think for myself and I can see for myself. I can see what's happening and I can trust what's happening. And so with my open ajna, I was very caught up in concepts about things, trying to find the foundation. And wow, nothing was able to give a foundation like design. I had studied yoga for years. I had practiced yoga for years. I had done multiple teacher trainings, lived at the ashram for a month. I had taught classes. I had studied all kinds of esoterica online, everything I could possibly get my hands on. And I never heard about human design.
I
It just never found me.
I was not a woo-woo person until design. I was very logical. So I didn't go through any of that. But it sounds like you went through a lot of different modalities.
I searched everything I could possibly find because
Mm-hmm.
I have 9 activations in the first line.
Mm-hmm.
And to top it all off, I have a second color motivation. And so that means that I'm motivated by hope.
I love hope motivation. It's similar
And
to mine. It's actually the most
yeah,
similar to mine. Innocence and hope. Oh,
right. There's a deep similarity there.
yeah.
For me, as a hopeful motivation, it's been learning about what not to be involved in.
Oh,
It's
I love
about
that.
learning where I can't make a difference, where I couldn't possibly stop or change or have an influence at all. It's like, yep,
I
I
love
have
that.
hope because there are forces far bigger than me at play, and I trust those forces.
Oh, wow. I never thought of it like I love thinking about that. Usually when I think about my innocence motivation, which is similar to hope, it's not the way that you said it. Like I'm not thinking about where I can't make a difference, but when you say it like that, it takes a lot of pressure off
Yeah,
because you're right. As our design, we're here to do certain things, but we're also here to recognize where we are not going to, where it's not going to work, where we're not going to benefit and the other is not going to benefit.
hmm,
So if we can see that, then we can, like you said, stay out of it. We
right.
don't have to be
That's the
involved in
benefit.
everything.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's the
that's so
benefit and
cool.
magic of acceptance as well. Like I was born in this body, you were born in that body, and because of that, we can get along in conversation relative to all the experiences we ever had leading up to this moment. If either of us were born in a different body, and then the experiences we might have had leading to this moment, we might not be having a fun conversation.
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool. All right, let's rewind. And because I asked you a question that was really good and we went a little off topic, but now I want to rewind to go to
Yeah, yes,
where
please.
I want you to talk about where you found human design or how it found you or how that all went.
Hmm. So essentially, I was born and raised in Alaska. And I had this sense that time was running out and I had to move. I had to do. There was something going and there was a movement happening.
Mm-hmm.
I had inherited a vehicle. I inherited a Ford Escape
Lovely.
from one of my best friend's grandmother's passing. It was her vehicle, and the family decided that I could receive it.
So
And
kind.
then I spoke with my friend's mother and received permission to sell the Ford Escape. And then I bought a one-way ticket to Hawaii.
How fun! Oh, I love this.
Oh, yeah, it was so great. I have a friend who was in Hawaii at the time. I don't think she is at the moment. She was staying with her, like some family over there. And so I was spending time with this close friend I met who was working at a gemstone rock shop
Mm-hmm.
originally in Alaska.
Mm-hmm.
And it turns out, well, there's a friend in Hawaii. I've wanted to go back to Hawaii since I was in there from robotics competition when I was in high school. We went to
Mm-hmm.
the Hawaii regionals, and
Oh, wow.
I remember this feeling in my body that I didn't notice until I was away from it. And it was being in an environment that was like hot, humid, tropical, warm, sunny,
Mm-hmm.
something that was a lot more in alignment with my natural shores, hot thirst health system.
Correct.
And so I always wanted to go back to Hawaii after that.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see, I found myself there. Well, one second. So I sold the Ford Escape. I found myself in Hawaii. I'm staying there with my friend. I'm looking for essentially some kind of a yoga instructor because that was the closest thing I'd found to this is the trail, this is where I'm going.
Yeah.
And then I heard about Sadhguru's inner engineering course in, was it San Francisco, California?
Mm-hmm.
And it was a month away. I was like, oh, wow, okay, interesting. I didn't know I'd only be here in Hawaii for a month. And so I called up my aunt and uncle in Laguna Beach, California.
Yep.
They
I
have
know
this
where that
beautiful
is.
home. Yeah, they have this beautiful home in Orange County.
Mhm.
And so I called them up and asked if I go to this yoga, would I be able to stay with you guys for a little while as I sort things out and move on to my next step? And so then I left my friend in Hawaii. I learned and received a transmission of a yoga technique called the Shambhavi Mahamudra Kriya from Sadhguru.
Mhm.
And so I was practicing that about twice a day in California. Right after getting there, I walked out and I hopped on the bus like the very next day, and I went down to a restaurant and I got a job as a dishwasher. And
Mhm.
so I would be washing dishes and practicing yoga at home. And then I started my teacher training with a woman named Laura Love in Orange County, California. And it was her very first teacher training. And it was a vinyasa style with a lot of open-ended elements to it that
Mhm.
brought
Mhm.
in really good, cohesive, I believe, six-line energy to the whole process.
Mhm.
That was really deeply impactful on my experience. And so from there, I began to attempt to manifest, I suppose. I attempted to manifest work as a yoga instructor.
Mhm.
And then I learned and recognized, well, getting ahead of myself a little bit, because I didn't know that I didn't have the 21 before I found out what human design was.
Yeah, yeah. It's weird how sometimes we look back and go, "Oh, I can see my design in play," when I didn't know what it was.
Precisely, precisely. The thing was, is I have no 21, and so I don't have a voice that can give orders of control, of telling you what to do and to follow my commands, and this is your yoga practice.
Mhm.
I don't naturally have that voice, and so it was kind of unnatural and weird for me, and it didn't
Mhm.
quite feel right.
Yep.
However, it was deeply fulfilling for my ability to kind of work through the psychological tension and the challenges of that. That was definitely beneficial.
Yeah, yeah.
And so essentially, I was, I think, was this after? I believe it was after I'd already moved out from my aunt and uncle's place. I was living in a room I rented from a retired college professor.
Mhm.
And I was looking at Instagram one day and I saw this house. I saw this space that was advertising something that looked attractive to me. And I went, oh, okay, yeah, I'm gonna go see what's happening over there. They had these Kangen machines.
Mhm.
And my dad had been big on that machine since I was a child. And it was the first time I'd heard about it in a long time. And back then, my skeptical mind was like, I don't know, what are you talking about? Rearranging the blood and sorting this stuff out. And it sounded pseudoscientific based on my indoctrination from school, from
Mhm.
education. And so then I hop on the bus and I ride the bus for about an hour up to this two-story house in Costa Mesa that's got this nice big open backyard, and they got these fancy water machines where you don't even have to buy soap anymore because you can rinse your dishes in 2.5 pH water and you don't even have to wash it off. It's already
Yeah.
like spotless, clean, shiny.
I've heard of those.
They're really, really cool.
Mhm.
And so I walked into this house, and essentially everybody in that house is living their design to their ability. They're already
Mhm.
in their experiment. And so all of a sudden, I was, what are you talking about, human design? What is this? And I was surrounded by people, and there's a sound bath every week. So I'm visiting
You
this.
came to human design in real life, in aura with other people. That's how you first came to it.
That's where it went. Hello, bunk.
Dude, that is so cool. I didn't mean to interrupt, but like that's really neat. Almost anyone I've ever met finds it online or in a podcast or in that sort of manner. And
Mhm.
the fact that your defined body was like, we're going. Oh, that's so neat. Okay, keep
Yeah,
going.
my mind, my personality did everything it could possibly do to find it. I even bought a copy of the Gene Keys and then his
Mhm.
commentaries twice without ever like fully reading them to the point where I knew what was going on. I never knew about human design, but I had those copies of the Gene Key book.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like it was close, you know, it kind of poked in and said hello,
Yeah.
but I didn't really have that chance. And like as a 1-3, it was so utterly perfect because
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't find it from trying to manifest it from my mind. That's not the order of operations for how like life occurs.
Mm-hmm.
It was my quad motor authority definition structure that bumped into it and went, whoa. And then I'm like arguing against it. Like Roz says something about the dream rave and how the dream rave has no bearing on your waking life. And I'm like arguing against that to my friend who introduced me. And she's a 6'2" with her son in the fourth gate in the sixth line of an
Mm-hmm.
undefined ajna, also an emotional generator.
Yeah. That's
And
really
so,
cool. I found
oh,
myself are like looking at parts of it too and being like, oh, this pisses like finding the parts of it that annoy you and you're like, wait a second. And then you listen to other people talk about it and it's like, oh. I'm really open-minded about my human design. And when other people come up with concepts or theories about what they know, I'm always open to hear it because
mm,
you might show me something or teach me something that I never thought about. Just like earlier when you said hope motivation is looking for where it's not needed or won't be of help. Like to me, that train of I never went down that path and you like
uh-huh.
put me down it. So now I'm like, oh, I love this.
it's,
That is so neat that you came to it in Aura with other people. Like that,
it's utterly perfect. You know, I couldn't have it any other way.
yeah. And like I said, that never because human design is pretty niche, people. So it's hard to find people in real life once you're in it and excited about it and want to talk about it to talk to. So to not know anything about it and then to come into it and all these people
You
are
see,
like,
I have a hard time believing that. I dislike the limited belief that it's hard to find people to speak with design about
okay.
because I believe that when it's time to talk with other people about it, they will be there and you will talk about it.
I know, but that means I have to wait. I'm so
Yeah, it's not
impatient.
difficult. You know, it's not difficult. You simply have to have that patience, you know, like
I know. You seem to I like that you came to design after it seems like you had already a lot of tools, like
I,
patience.
well, I wouldn't even say I have patience necessarily because I don't really wait. I don't wait for anything.
You
And
respond. I wait.
yeah, well, the thing is I suppose my design specifically feels like I was made to recognize lack of control, that there is no such thing and there is no control over this system, this life, and over what's going on.
Mhm.
There's no control here.
Yeah.
Like I have all four of my motors that are responsible for moving the body in any way. All four of them are defined together.
Mhm.
And there's no gate 21. There's no controlling force in there.
It does what it wants when it wants.
Mm-hmm. And I've got a third line, third color, third tone determination.
Mhm.
And
What's your
so
determination?
it's hot thirst.
Oh yeah, I remember you told me that. I'm alternating appetite.
Oh, that's
First,
so fun.
first, first.
Yeah, alternating. That's let's see. Avita, who introduced me to human design, the 6'2", has that same determination.
Mhm. It's an interesting one because I don't have a lot of first lines in my design, but I'm survival view, which is first line, and I'm alternating, and I can feel the first line sometime, but really in survival, like the term of survival really makes sense to me because for me, I'm very simple on what I need.
Uh-huh.
I'm very much like we need this, we need I don't like a lot of extra stuff. I just
Uh-huh.
want functionality and like to make sure I'm not going to die. That's
Right.
really what I I like what I need for like material things and stuff to protect me. I'm like, all right, basic survival stuff. I'm also caves, so
Hmm.
that makes sense that
Yeah, she is too. Yeah.
oh, that's really cool.
Mhm.
So, and I love that you're pointing all this stuff out, that these little pieces and parts really impact your design in ways that you're not going to be aware of until it happens.
It's so incredible. Like I finally found something that's a reliable foundation. And the
Mm-hmm.
thing was, is it's because it reached the point where I'm like in California, door dashing to pay rent, and all of a sudden there's car problems that show up. And how am I going to pay rent and even have a car to drive? How am I going to make money to pay this stuff off when it's all compounding? What am I going to do? And it really became the situation of betting my life double or nothing every day on my inner authority and type strategy. And it was like, I don't know what the hell to do. This is what I'm going to do. I think it works. And the way in which I was able to physically accept that in the moment is through what I'm doing now, the deep breathing.
Mm-hmm.
You see, I was sitting in my car so frustrated and upset that I would scream at the top of my lungs
Mm-hmm.
until I could hardly talk. And then I started doing this instead.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get that rhythm, you can go in there and you can enter a deep space where all of a sudden it's like you're constricting and you're getting tight and I want to stop. I don't want to do this anymore. It's not comfortable. And then
Mm-hmm.
all of a sudden you open up into this open space and it's like, "Oh, wow. This I can do this for a moment. This is nice." And
Mm-hmm. I love breath work. I'm also a certified yoga teacher, but I've never taught. And it
mm,
was funny how you said it didn't like, because I was the same. I was like, I'm totally into this. I love this. And then when I went to teach, it didn't feel right. And I was trying to convince myself, oh no, it's just because you're just starting, like you're nervous, blah, blah, blah. I have a hard time with trust and like trusting my body, obviously, because I have no body definition.
right,
So when it comes to that trust, and when I feel in my body that I don't like something, this gives me 10 reasons why that's incorrect. And
right, the
so
mind.
I have to like bypass all those reasons and go, even though this doesn't make sense logically, like this is what you should listen to.
Uh-huh.
And sometimes I'm really quick with it. My body's really fast with it. And I feel like I can't trust it because it's too fast.
Mm. I have a question for you, and I'm
Yeah.
it's somewhat unspecific. However, it is so you have the alternating appetite determination.
Yes.
What other keynotes for your variables can you give? Like, is there touch or is there vision or
I have inner vision. I
inner
have,
vision?
I'm inner vision, and I'm survival view, alternating appetite, caves. What are the other ones? I know there's other ones.
Well, I
I'm observed rather than observer. I know that.
observed rather than observer. Okay, yeah, yeah, that gave me what I was curious about. I'm not sure
Mhm.
what wasn't answered within the variables, but it gave me what I was looking for. So,
Awesome.
do you ever practice with closing your eyes for a moment?
I mean, I meditate every day, sometimes twice a day, and my eyes are always closed. But
Yeah.
I almost always have like, it's like guided. I have a hard time with silence
Oh,
because I get in
have you
here.
worked with like brainwave entrainment technologies like binaural beats or isochronic tones or
No, I mean, I think there have been, I think I've done meditations with like the binaural beats in it, but I've never specifically gone for something like that. But I would. I'm
yeah,
open. I'm
like
open.
okay, I can send you one that I'd recommend because
Okay.
what I like about some of these is that the way the vibration is being emitted through the audio, it's carrying a frequency that I can use as a meditation object of a much higher frequency than my own breath.
Mhm.
And so my normal object is my breath. And so if I'm stressed or whatever, I'll breathe in and out more.
Mhm.
And that deals with that. However,
Mhm.
if I want to focus on something that's more rapid than my breath, then you have this beat that's moving in a certain way.
Yeah, because you can't be
And
like, you'll pass
right,
out.
exactly, exactly.
Oh yeah.
And so those rhythms and the beats, they can captivate my awareness in a way that
Mhm.
pulls my awareness into my pineal, like into the center of my being. And then from there, you can, in theory, project it outward.
Okay, yeah, I want that stuff. I want those.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, because meditation has been a really big piece for me. And it's funny because when I first came to human design, somebody told me mental projectors they're not good at meditation. You're not good at it. And I was like, well, first of all, it's not something to be good at. It's just
That
I know,
upsets me.
I know, I had
Like
that same reaction.
I'm like offended to it because it's like, okay, if you have a defined ajna, it means that you have a fixed function of conceptualization.
Yes.
And so when you're meditating, you're doing so many things. You can be exploring that fixed system of conceptualization and seeing farther reaches of it.
Mm-hmm.
And that can be the deepest value right in there.
Mm-hmm.
You could
I know.
also go beyond that and into, oh, I have no idea anymore, and this is still beautiful.
Yeah. And even sometimes I'm lying there and they're right. My ajna doesn't turn off and it's still talking, but I don't care. That's not I feel like a lot of times people think there's like a point to meditation or you have to do it right or whatever. If your brain doesn't shut off, okay. Like you can still sit there, just stay there and do what you're doing. If you wander off in here, that's fine. You just come back. I've been meditating every day for years and
Yeah.
I still have like stuff sometimes it's like, oh, don't forget, you got to do this thing today. And it's cool. You just have compassion with yourself. People are so not nice to themselves when it comes to this kind of stuff. Like you feel like you have to sit right and be correct. I meditate lying down because I have a hip issue, so I can't sitting bothers me. And I'm not going to let that stop me. I can lie down and meditate. It's called Shavasana. Deal with it. So, and if that's what, huh?
There are many people who that's their favorite asana.
Yeah. And if that's how you are still, if that's the easiest way for you to be still is to lie down, you're not doing anything wrong. If you want to stand up, stand and meditate, great. If you want to walk outside, meditate, cool. There's so many ways to do it. I feel like I talk about meditation on this podcast all the time because it's besides human design, meditation and yoga are the things that have like really changed my whole life and really helped me to let go of control, sort of.
Absolutely. Like
that's my big issue is control and trust, which I know they go together. So that makes sense.
Right. Yeah, it's been such a profound thing for me as well because yoga and meditation, these ancient practices and the potential value that we can derive from the ancient strategy of our ancestors. Mm-hmm. The problem is when it's ruling us on the personal level or when we take the ancient ways too seriously as if they apply to us. And on a purely technical level, they can't anymore. Not technically, not the same.
It's a different time.
Yeah, I mean, ever since 1781.
Different beings. Yeah, so
And
that totally makes sense. I love that.
It's what grounded my entire life. It's as if yoga saved my life and then human design gave it back to me. It was like, this answered everything yoga didn't, and I didn't even know it. Like I didn't even know I was looking for this puzzle piece. Like they were the exact opposite of each other. Yoga was this perfectly, wonderfully homogenized, generic, universal, you can do the right thing. And then human design was like, here's the right thing for you specifically.
Very specific.
And between the two, we can dance forever, you know? Like it's a beautiful
I totally agree. I totally agree. That's funny that you came to all that stuff because I did too. And I was actually born and raised in Southern California. So I'm very familiar with all the places that you've been.
Yeah, they're wonderful places. I felt like it was 5 years of a paradisical. Well, there was some hellish realm in there as well, of course, but
yeah. But it's just so neat that, like I said, it feels, when the way you talk about it, it feels like your body decides it wants to go someplace and then you go. And the trust, that's like huge. A lot of people don't have that. or can't
it's
access that maybe.
yeah, it's part of why I feel blessed in my design is
Yeah.
that I have these four motors. The four motors are the only four out of all nine energy centers for responsible for physical movement in any way, shape, or form of the body.
And you've got them all
They're
defined.
fixed together. So it's like they're one thing. It's like, oh, okay, well, they're gonna do their thing, and I can watch that. Okay, interesting.
Mhm.
And I can learn how to communicate that better and better over time through my 1648.
Mhm. Very
Is it
cool.
allows me to existentially communicate from my emotional place at that point.
Yeah. Oh, that's so neat. All right. I think it's finally time we talk about the thing that we've both been wanting to talk about,
Oh,
the not self, guys. If you've never heard the term not self in human design, look it up. There's a lot. But in general, it's like a little signal that you are maybe not going off of your path, but that there's something you need to be aware of. That's what it feels like to me, that there's something that you need to be aware of, and perhaps something you need to make space for and have compassion for, because usually the not self things, the terms for them are inherently quote unquote negative. They sound quote unquote heavy, like all this is the dark of human design, but
mm-hmm.
it's not bad. And it's not meant to be like, oh, these are the bad negative parts of me I have to work on. No, these are just other parts of you. See, right? No, we're getting attitude over here. These are parts of you that'll always be there. It's nothing bad, it's nothing good, it is what it is. And I feel that once people can come to terms with that, the not self is not as scary as it can sound.
Mm-hmm.
It's very helpful, especially for third lines when we are here to bump into things and figure out what not to do. The not self is like, hey, don't do that. And we're
Right?
like, crap, you're right. We tried this
Mm-hmm.
already, and this isn't the way. So we're gonna try it this way now. Um, and that's why I love the not self. And you can hear it and talked about when it comes to the centers. There's not self themes in the centers, 9 centers. There's not self themes that have to do with your particular type. There's not self just all over the place. And when you're talking about variables, it's a different term. It's called transference, right?
Yeah,
Use the right term. So
transferred state.
it's which is quite similar to not self, right? It's just a different
It's
kind of a different
very
word.
important. It's very important for the not self, and it's very important to the very nature of life itself. Like,
Yeah.
from my comprehension, if we didn't have transference, we would not have this physical reality with all these beautiful colors and stuff.
Yeah,
Like, it's
because
one of
we
those
need
things that,
something to bump into and be like, oh crap, I went too far this way.
right.
Yeah.
And it's even part of the nature of the physics of the counterbalancing of this binary
Mm-hmm.
of what life is. And so when
Mm-hmm.
you have the yin counterbalanced with the yang and they're working together, you see things flowing beautifully.
Mm-hmm.
And I really appreciated the way you brought up and brought in the not self to this because it brought out that laugh from me.
Good. Well, I for me, human design, it's one of the most important things I've ever found in my life, and it's a huge piece. But that doesn't mean it can't be light and fun, and that we can't look at it in a way that's not so serious sometimes, even though it is a serious thing.
Well, okay, so that brings me to another thing as well. Because, oh, let's see, I guess which one comes first? Alan Watts wants to come through first. Taking things seriously. I actually consider that as a negative propagation. I consider serious as this grim, this is a life or death. You better take
Mm-hmm.
this serious.
Mm-hmm.
And what I prefer, what Alan Watts gave me when I was even a child listening to him on YouTube, I would listen to his lectures for hours. And don't take me seriously. He said to take me sincerely.
Ah, I like that. Oh, I really like that.
There's a big difference there.
Mm-hmm.
And
Because
so,
I'm always trying to be authentic and genuine, and I like the because I that's what it feels like. It's like,
yeah, it's sincerity.
yeah,
Oh my
but it's
gosh,
not serious.
it even brings whole new meaning to the word sin. If
Oh yeah.
if sin is the beginning of sincerity, what does that mean? You know, I mean,
Hmm.
I got to do some more etymology research, you know?
Right? See, this takes us everywhere. Oh, I love this so much.
And
Yeah,
so
it's
I had to say for one more thing at least is that I
yeah.
really appreciated the way in which you brought up the not self because it brought that laugh out of me because of how clearly I can communicate that, oh, these dark parts of myself, I need to work on this. Oh, wait a minute. You're not supposed to work on that. You don't need to work on that. It's not fixed. You need to be able to let go of that and then watch it turn into a whistle or a tornado or whatever you want it to be because it's when we try to control what we don't have that we're pulled away from what we are. And it's when we let go that the chance of our highest wishes and dreams can actually have space to manifest.
Totally.
Like
Yeah,
it's
that's awesome.
it's something I found very fascinating in the design community, especially because of how polarizing things can get. And the
Yes.
way in which individuals will have an outer authority that is, say, different from raw. And
Hmm.
so some people would say if you have an indirect or peripheral perspective, so if your bottom right variable is a right arrow rather than a left arrow, so your indirect
Mine
perspective,
is right. Mine is right. Wait,
right, yeah,
bottom left?
bottom right.
Bottom right. Yeah, right.
Some people would say that means you're an indirect manifester.
Hmm.
And if it's a left arrow, it'd be a direct manifester.
Oh, this is that
And
non-specific specific manifester thing, isn't it?
precisely. And I dislike the term manifester being applied there
Me too.
because it conflates with the physical type.
It's confusing.
It is. And it's not, I don't think it's right.
I
When
agree.
I'm talking about manifestation in that way, what I do is I actually look at the energy center. And so we both, I believe, have defined throats, right?
Yes.
So we have a fixed relationship to manifest reality,
Mhm. Yes.
rather indirect or direct. You see, the thing
Yeah.
about that indirect manifester is that it's actually a peripheral perspective. You're looking from the edges, you're looking towards the horizon where this becomes that, you know?
It's
You're
more
looking,
big picture, less little pieces.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And that has nothing to do with the way that you manifest things and put things out into the world. It more has to do with what you envision, what you see
Yeah,
as the process is already happening.
right. It's your own sense.
Oh,
Uh-huh,
dang.
uh-huh. Because I mean, the biggest difference here is that when we're talking about the body graph, we're talking about basically physics. We're talking about physical stuff and the 9 basic dimensions of human life.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're talking about variable. Well, we're talking about something different here. We're not
Mm-hmm.
talking about physics anymore. We're not talking about physical cause and effect anymore. We're talking about awareness. And what I deeply appreciate about the way Ross spoke is that he openly admitted this is where my intelligence breaks down. I don't know how to talk about awareness. I know material, I know physical stuff. This
Yeah.
awareness, well, I'm going to give you guys a pointed direction, and this is what I see. And then you can play from there. And
Mm-hmm.
wow, the way in which our awareness is truly free when you can see what it is, like I see how my conscious awareness is purely receptive, right angle.
Mm-hmm.
And then my unconscious design is purely strategic.
Left angle.
And so I
Mm-hmm.
see this binary within myself, and it even goes into multiple levels. Like I have this quad motor definition structure and this fully strategic design unconscious. It's like, oh, okay, well, there's this fully strategic thing happening, this life thing, this life happens.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm here to watch the movie, you know? I mean, it is a movie. You don't have to feel like you're responsible for your behavior
Mm-hmm.
when you can actually accept there is no such thing as choice.
Ooh,
That's the
no
only possible,
choice. You
it's
are
the only
jumping into
possible way.
all the spicy pieces. I love it.
Well, I have to be honest, you know,
I know. I
and
love it.
if you believe in choice, then you are responsible for yourself and your behavior. If you don't, then you can go beyond even that and become part of a greater picture.
I love it. I think that's so cool. And I love that you brought up where Ra knows his limits and is like, okay, figure this out. Because when you, as a mental projector, when you read what Ra writes about mental projectors, it's basically I don't know a whole lot. You guys are going to have to figure this out on your own. And it's like, well, screw you, Ron. That's not
That was
cool.
that was basically his whole message. I mean, there was a lot of truth, a lot of power came through, and then he came up with his most practical thing ever, type strategy and inner authority. And then all the people that were working with him went, "You're making shit up. We're done with you."
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I
Strategy
didn't
and
know that.
authority. That strategy and authority was not there in the very beginning.
What?
You didn't know.
You didn't know.
So,
Well, that's what gets pounded into everybody's brain as soon as you hear about human
uh-huh.
design and you have any question, strategy and authority, strategy and authority, strategy and authority. So Ra did not come up with strategy and authority originally at the beginning.
Correct. It was it
Just
was
type.
the it was his fifth line universalization of now I can reach everyone.
I gotcha.
Because before that, you had definitions and then you had doers and non-doers. And that
Single
basically became
definition non-doer here.
right. And I'm like a split definition. Well, I don't know if you'd say doer or not. I think it might have only been manifester. However, by my perception, I'd call the energy types doers. So generators,
Yeah.
manifestors, doers, projectors,
At the
reflectors,
beginning, yeah. It's
not
very,
doers.
yeah, it kind of got more specific. So how do you feel about strategy and authority then?
Oh, I think it's the most important thing ever.
Okay.
On the
Yeah.
universal practicality, it's like, hey, you can actually breathe deeper and your psychological problems will go away. Did you know that? You didn't? You don't believe me? Okay, best good
Nope.
luck. Like
Well,
that.
try being a mental projector and reading that you have no authority. Okay, because that's not
I
very
don't
fun.
believe that either.
I know, I don't either.
I've got multiple lines of thought as well. One is from Lara Joe. I think that might be how I would say her name.
Uh-huh.
She talks about inner authority coming out from the tonal cognition.
Which one is that?
So essentially, I'll give a map then.
Okay.
Basically, we have the crystal of consciousness.
The
You
inner
got two,
vision, cognition is vision, right? Inner vision.
yeah, I believe
Okay,
so.
go ahead. Go ahead.
And so you basically have the crystal of consciousness. It's either
Yeah.
a design or a personality. We have two put together, basically.
Yeah. The monopole.
Right. The monopole holds them together in our hologram of separation. And so you got this crystal and you got a neutrino. The neutrino comes from the sun and it taps the outside and enters the crystal at a base frequency, one of
Mm-hmm.
five. And then on the inside of that crystal, it resonates as a tone,
Mm-hmm.
one of six. And then it leaves that little crystal as a color, one of six. And then it's recaptured by your magnetic monopole into the line of the gate of an energy center in your body graph.
Mm-hmm. This is the stuff I never I at first when I came to human design, I thought I had to learn this stuff like in this way that you know these things. And it took me a while to realize as a 3/6 that's not necessarily true
Three,
because this
six, I see.
yeah, this is a like
Especially.
especially yeah. And I was trying to force myself to sound smart and like to have all the human design words and terminology and everything and how it happened, like the monopole and the crystals and all that stuff. I was like, well, if I don't know those things, I can't speak on it because I'm not being genuine. And
Right.
once I learned more about my design, I realized that that wasn't true. If if I'm not interested to learn it in that way, then don't worry about it because 3/6 isn't going to learn in a way that they don't want to.
Very
and
true.
and the way that you are talking is the way that my other friend Rebecca speaks, very like so you just said you have all the terminology and the words and you hold it up here. She's also a 1/3. And I feel like 1/3s are just you have the facts and you have like the information. Here you
I
go.
mean, so
And I
this
used to think something was wrong with me because I couldn't hold it like that. But it's not
naturally.
my design.
No, you have different purpose, different work.
Yeah.
Like as a 1/3 defined ego, especially. This was
Yeah.
something I found so funny. So from all the raw that I've heard and studied so far, I have heard this. Undefined egos have nothing to prove. I
We
have
have
also
so much to prove.
well,
We try so hard.
in truth, you were born perfect and you're
Yeah, I
convinced
know.
otherwise.
Yeah, it's true.
And The trip is, though, he's also said, you got a first line, you have something to prove. And then I haven't heard him reconcile the difference yet. So I'm annoyed at him right now. Because he would dare to bring up such a contradiction and not in the same breath clear it up. Like, I'm like, come on, man.
And of course, it's the first line that points this out. It's like, hey, did you see, you said this here and then you said this here? Can we get some sort of reconciliation? I love that.
Mm-hmm.
I
And
feel like first lines, maybe you have something to prove that's more information based. And
yeah.
I feel like ego is something to prove is more like provider. What can I do? What can I show you? I don't know. That's what it sounds like in my mind.
That makes sense to me because the first line, something to prove, would be simply about logical foundations being solid and getting over your fears in a sense.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Whereas the undefined ego, lack of self-worth, is seeking validation from other people and becomes, I will prove myself to you.
I will show you how I can do this.
And then I'll get my validation. And now I know I'm okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because
mm-hmm.
you told me. I didn't have to. Whatever.
And the first line is like, I'm going to tell you why this is solid and why it's okay. And I see what you mean. It's almost like the undefined ego needs the other to validate them. And the first line is like, no, I'm going to tell you all the reasons why I'm validated. And you're going to listen to all of them. I love that. Okay. So we've talked about so many different things and my mind has been blown like a million times, but if there is something that you wanted to say, and if you're cool to come back, we'll do another podcast.
Yeah.
Because you're great.
I'd be happy to be back on some other time.
Cool. Okay. So I do want to know if there's something that you wanted to say and impart in this episode about not self. Like what would be something you might want to say?
Yeah. I had you perfectly asked a little question and answer. You asked the question that I had an answer pop into my head for 10 minutes ago. And I was like, oh yeah, that's a good answer. I want to say it. And then I went on the other direction. And now you finally asked a question. And so about the not self is my favorite analogy of the not self is salt. The not self as salt. Okay. So essentially, most of us, when we're eating a dish, we want to have a little bit of salt in there. It spices it up, it enhances the flavor. It's nice and enjoyable. Mm-hmm. Nobody wants to eat a handful of the stuff.
No. I agree. You need a little sprinkle of not self. But if you dump on too much, it's like
a little bit, it helps the world go around and everybody's happy and laughing and joyous. It's when it controls the life, or when you're eating spoonful after spoonful after spoonful, you start to feel sick.
Yeah, totally. Oh my God, that does make a lot of sense because, as I said before, the not self is an important part. It's not like you're trying to get rid of the not self or trying to make it go away. Like there's no goal here. That will always be around. Yeah. No matter if you've been in your experiment for 7 years or 7 minutes, you'll always have not self stuff because it's necessary.
Even all the way to the end of life on earth, the end of this round, there will be not self.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's a good to speak about it that way should be helpful for people because I feel like there's a lot of things people try to stop in their lives or make go away, like their emotions and things like that. They're like, okay, if I can stop this or if I can make it go away. And these are things that will never leave you, never go away.
You can have a completely different relationship with those open centers though.
Of course, yes.
Like when you're not emotionally defined, knowing that if emotions are ruling my life, it's not okay. It's probably a bad time.
And it's probably because I'm not emotionally defined. A lot of times it's not me, it's other people's stuff. But my undefined emotional center ramps it up in my body. And I have no centers to ground it down here. So it's all just like, whoa, up here. And I've been working on that a lot. Yeah. I take a lot of breaths. I also have learned a lot to give myself more time and space to have a reaction. because a lot of times I think I'm supposed to react immediately to what's going on. I need to be like, I think it's my survival view is like, all right, are you ready? Are you ready to go? Like, are you?
You're not splenic though, so
Yeah, so slow down. In fact, not only am I not splenic, I'm like the slowest authority that there is, except for the lunar authority. Like, it takes a long time. And I explained it to another mental projector this way. If you are processing something and you think you know the answer and it came really quickly, you're probably right, but it will still behoove you to go through the mental projector process, because then you add little parts and pieces to that answer.
yeah.
It's like a yes, but these are my boundaries here, or a no, but I can give you this because it costs me zero energy.
Right.
So I think a lot of times mental projectors don't allow themselves to be quick because they think because their process is slow, the answer can't come quick. But you can
Right.
have the answer first and then soundboard and
Right.
put yourself in different environments and process. You can know that it's a yes and then do all that stuff. And
Right.
I
To
think it's the
fill it
same
in.
with any of the other authorities. You can know what the answer is very quickly, but to process it through your authority helps nuance the answer so that it
Mhm.
protects your energy and puts boundaries in place in case you need it. Especially
I,
generators need boundaries.
this is even something that Ra saw. I heard him mention or read or heard something like that. This notion that emotional definitions, particularly personality definitions, these people can become more aware of their correct decision making process in an identifiable way
Mm-hmm.
than others, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's this like consistent emotional wave that's in their conscious awareness. And so eventually they can become aware of the dynamics. And so most of my emotional authority definition structure, that half of me,
Mm-hmm.
most of that is conscious.
Mm-hmm.
There's 3 channels and only 2 gates are unconscious.
Mm-hmm.
And so, wow, I have become so aware. Like, it's so long as my mind isn't abusing my body, it's
Mm-hmm.
all good. Because the
Yes.
thing is, my mind can no longer tell my body to do something if the body said no to it.
No, not you. Your body's loud.
Yeah, it'll let me know, because the thing
Yeah.
is when I'm out of alignment, I'm the first one to suffer.
Yeah. But it also seems like you're one of the for you are aware. Like your awareness is is big. Like when it happens.
Well, that's the thing is I can get caught in the moment and then maybe seconds or minute or days later go, oh, dang, okay, wow.
Mm-hmm.
So
But
that can
that's
still
okay.
happen. That can
Yeah,
still happen.
but that's life. Like it wouldn't be life if you didn't get caught up in the moment and get taken swept away. Like you kind of want those things to happen too.
Right.
Um and the not self is very good at that, I think, kind of
Mhm, mhm.
sweeping you away and but maybe into like a little downward spiral.
Right. And so
So
that's the thing is if you can be swept away and then recognize your truth being swept away and what trajectory that truth went on, what happened
mm-hmm.
there, the whole story,
Mm-hmm.
when you can truly cognize that whole now space story in the present of who and
Mm-hmm.
what you are. It's just
Yeah.
like, wow, I know who I am. I kind of have this feel of, yeah, I have an idea of what I'll say yes and no to. Although in the moment, what actually comes out, oh, that was new.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you kind of process it after, like you watch it happen after it's already happened. You're watching the movie.
Uh-huh.
You're going, this has happened, and I'm watching how it went, and now and not judging it, not judging how I reacted in that moment or which way I went. And that's the big piece is when we
Mhm.
replay stuff back in our minds, we're always going, well, I should have done this better, or look, that was stupid. This is like no judgment. You're just here to observe. This is where I feel like my third line was very helpful, is because I can really think of things as an experiment, and it helps me to separate myself and look at it objectively, just like you said,
Mm.
and go, okay, this is
Mhm.
how this went. And before my mind could come in and be like, oh, you said something stupid, I'm like, oh no, I said that, and then this is what happened next. Like, if you look at it as an actual like science experiment, this happened, which caused this to happen, and then this happened, like, and leave out all the bullshit you think about yourself, then it's easier to have a awareness, but also a compassion for yourself, that you're doing a good job and you're totally cool. And the not self is coming in and saying, hey, you know, what's the not self theme of generator frustration, right? Is that the deal? Yeah. You were talking about the earlier, how you were super frustrated. And when I learned about the not self theme of projector being bitterness, I was like, no, I don't ever feel bitter.
I'm not bitter. That's
Yeah.
stupid. Why would they say that?
because to me, bitter, I had such a negative connotation with that word, and I was like, this is terrible. I can't be this. And then I realized it's just a part of the projector, the whole package. Because with recognition and lack of recognition comes bitterness. And for the generator, you want to be satisfied, and if you're not satisfied, hey, you're pretty freaking frustrated. So it's like they go together, and they have to exist.
The satisfaction only comes from using the energy correctly in response. It's the only way.
Hear that, generators and manifesting generators? You're all trying to do stuff when you should just be responding to things.
Right. Trust the response. You're always responding to something, even a change in temperature. Like, oh, it's kind of cold. I don't have to think about or be invited in to put a jacket on, you know?
You fucker. I hate you for saying that. I'm just kidding.
Well, I mean, somebody told me.
No, I'm teasing you.
Somebody told me that they were told you have to be invited to leave your house.
No, they did not.
They literally told me that.
This is what we're talking about, people. There's some shit that comes out of human design it's the exact opposite. That sounds so controlling to me.
It's
when
so
human design needs to be like, the invitation is for big things and things that have to do with other people most of the time. Almost anything that's just you, which is like, what am I going to eat? What am I going to wear? Can I leave my house today? Those things, you figure that out on your own. You don't need anyone to invite you to do those things. I didn't need anyone to invite me to do this podcast, but I don't have anyone on who doesn't invite themselves. So you're actually the closest person lately that I kind of invited on, because we were talking about it on Facebook, and I was like, hey, come on. But usually I wait for people to email me or message me and say, I want to be on. And then I go, okay, you're on.
Very cool.
While this whole thing came about because I wanted to talk to other people about human design, and I didn't really care who listened, now I feel it's kind of cool to experiment with radical invitation in this way. Because in the rest of my life, it's a little bit more difficult. But here I can be like, don't ask anyone, to see what happens. And sometimes I have nobody on for a month, and then sometimes I have like 5 people on. So it just it goes like this. And it's easier that way. And I don't feel bitter when I ask somebody to be on and they're like, no, thanks. Which happened when I first started the podcast. I was all over the place. You want to be on? You want to do it? You want to? And people were like, no. And
I've gotten a couple of those from my own, couple of no thank yous, couple of no responses.
Yeah, but for you, it can be a little bit different, because from what I gather from the generator response is the invitation feels more specific. Like, I'm asking you to do this, or I think you would be great at this. And the generator response feels more like, oh, they're talking about this thing. Oh, that sounds cool. My body is responding to what they're talking about. You don't necessarily have to be invited.
Right,
your body responds to what it's put in front of it.
I suppose that is a difference, because when it comes to, well, it's funny, because sometimes I have felt like I've invited somebody out of the blue to be on the podcast, and we had a good time. Other times I've felt like an invitation out of the blue is close to an initiation, and thereby may have not warranted a response. And so for me, these mechanics and this awareness is all about learning the elements that aren't personal. It's like nothing personal. These are the mechanics to how reality operates, no
Mm-hmm.
big deal. It's just how things happen. We can
Mm-hmm.
learn to understand that for real and see it.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting because I've always thought of my design as so vague, my personal design. And now that I'm thinking about the invitation, it feels very specific. And the response feels vague. Like the generated response feels like there's, like you said, there's so many things that you can respond to. And am I responding or am I initiating? I don't know. Maybe
Right.
I gotta, so I gotta wait.
Like my whole idea of even as a person to give readings to people for human design or to have private sessions with somebody to understand this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Was that out of response or is it an initiation? Like when I do something like that, it becomes this, well, I don't even know, because it
Mm-hmm.
became into that vague space of was that responding to something or not? I don't have mental clarity on it. And
Mm-hmm.
then for me, and it's kind of easy for me, I suppose, having this hopeful motivation, undefined ajna,
Mm-hmm.
17.6, and a 43.4.
Yeah.
I've got this system that's built to go, oh, okay, nothing's permanent. It's not only my mind and my thinking, but it's nothing.
Oh,
Okay,
I say everything is temporary almost every day
right.
because we hold on to things like it's going to be the rest of our life. Even if we can foresee it being there for years in the future, it's still not the rest of your life. And you don't know what's going to happen. This thing might drop off, whatever it is, and you never, it's gone from your life forever. Or it might hang out until you're dead. Like we
Right.
can't predict the future. So this is why I'm another reason I was so happy I found human design is because I realized I don't really need like goals or like lists or schedules.
Yeah, I'm not the one in charge to make the rules and the plans. I'm on the cross of planning, for crying out loud. And
You're
I don't
across the
plan.
planning.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. And you're like, I don't plan anything. Well, your body has the plan. This
I
head is holding the
recognized.
plan and it
Yeah.
doesn't tell.
I recognized there's a bigger
Oh, that's
plan. I have a role to play as part in a bigger plan. And by
that's
surrendering my need
awesome.
to figure it out and understand it, I can actually do it.
And this is what's so cool about design is there might be another person with cross planning with different configurations to where goals and lists and actual plans is
Yeah.
helpful for them and strategic for them and moving forward.
Right.
But like you said, for yourself and myself, I'm a Sphinx cross, by the way, undefined
Um,
G, Sphinx cross.
Undefined G Sphinx.
Is that weird?
It happens. I've seen every single gate in the G activated, not defined.
It's insane how some of that happens. Yeah, there's only, if you all don't know, there's only two incarnation crosses where all the gates are in one center, and it's
Mm-hmm.
the G center, and it's the Vessel of Love and Sphinx.
Mm-hmm.
And when I first learned about human design, I thought that that was what made an incarnation cross was like four gates in the same center.
Oh,
Until
yeah.
I like was reading about it, and somebody told me that mine was pretty rare because they're all in the same center. And it was like, aren't they all supposed to be in the same center? And they go, no, most of the times they're all over the place. So, and to have a directional cross without consistent access to direction is a mind fucking a half. It's just like you said, there's pieces of your design where you're like, hey, like, how does this work together? And that's the beauty of the experiment is the whole time you're just kind of watching how it works together. And then this little piece doesn't work together. And then now it works together again. And oh, we're not like
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
it's about observing your life from an objective place and not taking everything so personally and so seriously
Especially for your
because
6 lines
we
on the
don't
roof.
have control, right? And I'm a 3/6, so I'm on the roof, but I also have to come down and make a mess and then go back up.
You're never allowed to just go have a 20-year vacation. You come back down
No,
and go back up and
I
you get
have
a
to be
moment
in
and
it. That's what someone shared that with me one of my first readings when I learned about because I remember the 6 line, the roof thing was bothersome to me, and I couldn't figure out why. And he was like, well, you're not really meant to be up there like the other 6 lines, like you're not meant to stay up there. You're gonna have to come down and like get into the stuff before you really are aware. Like you need it for your awareness piece. And I
mm-hmm.
was like, oh yes. I'm like, great, because I felt so like I wasn't sure what to do. I feel like I didn't have all the information to be on the
Mm-hmm.
roof. And I'm like, well, maybe it's because I'm 40 and I'm not on the roof yet. I don't know. Or this stupid age thing.
That's what I really appreciate about the endless nuance to the design. Like there's details and details and details and details and details. You can go on and on and on, study forever, and still learn new things.
Yeah.
And it gives my mind something to chew on. You see, I was born in the quarter of initiation. And so that means I find my fulfillment in life through the mental sphere.
So you're a first quarter. I'm a fourth quarter.
Fourth quarter, your mutation then. Okay. Yeah. Exactly. So your fulfillment in life comes from your specific role modeling direction of this is what's possible in human life. You know, like this is what we can do. This is a whole new example, totally different from all y'all. Get out of here. This is me.
And I've been really working on I've been working on that, and I've gotten a lot better because whenever I find myself wanting to do what everybody else is doing, I automatically go, well, why? Like, why do you want to do that? And then a lot of times I'll turn and go the other way. And I have the confidence to do that when I used to not. And in this human design space, I've been really thinking about what I want to share and what I think would be fulfilling to me as well, and not just to the other. Because I know as a projector, I'm here for the other, but I also want to feel fulfilled too. So and lately I've been going back to the beginning, like when you first come to human design and you're a human design baby and you know nothing, like what kind of support could I be for those people? What can I share? What I want to do readings, but more. I want to do coaching, but not, because I hate that word.
Even as a projector, you don't like the word coaching?
I hate coaching. It just feels so like I got to make a syllabus and there's plans and there's, yes, I do. Guiding works.
Okay.
Guiding is fine. Coaching to me feels too involved.
Too strategic.
Like, yeah. And like, I have to give them too much stuff. Like, here's your PDFs and all your shit. And I don't like that. I'm here I like this. This is what I like.
Right.
I don't make written word stuff. I do video and talking. And I used to think that was a negative of mine, that I wasn't well-rounded.
No, if you got your way, you got your way. Honor
and it's not interested, and I'm not interested in it. So I'm trying to figure out a way to support by giving people the space and the time, because I do think at the beginning people rush. Like it's an unconscious thing. When you learn about a new system, you want to get as much information as possible and you want to try to move to the next step. And I think when it comes to design, people put themselves on that path of like checking off the boxes, and then they realize, oh, that's not the point, but they're already there. So they keep going of like, okay, I'm working on my strategy and my authority. Okay, what's next? Let's talk about the centers. Oh, now we're going to go to variable. And it's just, I don't think people will give themselves enough space and time with projector, generator, just the type, the very beginning. It's like you learn that, you read about it like it's a little horoscope, and then you move forward and go into the more specifics. No, I got to know more specific about myself.
No.
Start with your type.
Try it out.
Yeah, and really see how that feels. And as I'm talking with you, I'm like working out how this might look for people. So this is very helpful. Very third line, I have to be in it to win it type of situation.
Let's go. You know, I'm a 1-3. I'm in it.
So yeah. So that's where I want to come at it from. And I'm glad that you said similar things. It's like you want to read for people, but you want them to come to you when they're ready. Like, and I also feel like you don't feel like somebody who wants to hold their hand and like lead them through the whole process, right?
Well, it's kind of fascinating there because I'm actually very different in style from how Ra did the whole thing.
Okay. Yeah, Ra basically said, here's the information, guys, have fun.
Yeah, I mean, he would literally shock you the most he possibly could.
Wow. But
and then go, follow your strategy and authority.
He's not lying.
No,
If you've ever
he's not
listened
lying.
to, no, you're
No.
not lying. Because if you've ever listened to a raw lecture, that's he'll he'll shock you with his gay 51 and then leave you to it and sit
Right.
back and just be like, yeah, let's see what happens. And for other people, that might be very uncomfortable to do.
Mm-hmm.
But for Raw, he loved it.
That was the easiest, natural way to express himself. And so
Yes.
I happen to be a 51 as well.
Oh,
However, it's
nice.
very different. Like my definition is purely tribal and logical.
Mm-hmm. And he was a manifester too, so he's very like
Right.
in your
Like
face.
like for him, it was, I'm gonna read your chart, I'm gonna tell you what I see, you're gonna be shocked, and then you're gonna leave me alone.
Yeah.
For me, it's like I look at this picture and oh, there's a beautiful being right here. And then I
Me
look at the
too.
person and I ask how they're doing. And then from there, when I know where they're at, I'm able to actually share with them what I see from their high potential and their low potential, attuned to where they're at. Because the most important thing for me is this back and forth that you and I are having right now,
Me too.
like this is what it's all about. And so when I'm in a reading, it's the same thing as this, except for, hey, there's a chart there and we can actually, oh, hey, you have a problem? Well, that's where it's right here. That's the problem. It doesn't have to be anymore. And
Yeah.
so for me, it's actually, I'm a big fan of the long-term support.
How do
And
you do that?
well, I'm not interested in holding your hand every single day, every step of the
Yeah,
way.
yeah, me too.
What I want to do is to teach you what it actually means to be your own authority. I want to teach you how to be yourself. And so I can't even do that. That's a joke. I can't teach you how to be yourself. All I can do is point in the direction that you are. Like
That
so
you
so
already are.
there's a bit of paradox in there, and I love playing with that. And that's why for me it's all about being able to spend some now space with somebody. And then like if they're having a tough time, we can look at the chart of either them or other people. We can talk about the mechanics and the basic, like what happens in life. And I'm not going to hold your hand every single step of the way, but I'm going to
But
help
you'll
you.
do this more than once with a person,
Oh
like if they
yeah,
want
sure. I
continued
don't mind.
support.
I
Okay,
don't mind
cool.
at all, because like I have a totally unique outer authority and I love hearing it as much as anybody else too.
Uh-huh.
Like this is the most satisfying work I can ever do in my entire life, is this stuff.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
so it's hard for me to turn somebody down. Like if somebody signed up 5, 6, 7 times and they still don't get it and they just want to keep hearing me say it, then eventually I might say no, like maybe next year. Eventually.
Just process this stuff first, guy or girl or
Right.
whoever.
Like I can't do the work for you, but I can tell you what the work is. I can show you how to get there and how to do it yourself. We can learn how to do this alchemical process of what's called the great work, the actual
Yeah.
transmutation of the philosopher's stone. Like we can do this stuff, it's possible.
Yeah. I'm trying to balance being exactly as like excited and wanting, like I'm in that space of positive and oh my God, your chart is so beautiful. Balancing that with like my inconsistent energy and wanting to help, but also I have to be careful. And
Yeah.
sometimes I'm trying to find like a space in there where I can still be supportive, but also not give away
Mhm.
too much of my energy. And that's
It's
kind
an
of
incredibly different thing. Like the system that you have and the system that I have. Like I got all four of my motors open. I can go straight through a penta or a wah without a care in the world. It don't matter.
this
Like
girl.
a totally different, totally
I'm
different.
absorbing it all and holding on to the stuff. And so I think that it's funny because even when I read for generators, sometimes in my head, I'll say, do I have anything to offer you? Like it just pops into my mind. I don't really, it's like an unconscious thing because I feel like a lot of times I'm telling them stuff and they're like, yeah, I know. Yeah, I know that. I know. And I just want to stop them and be like, hey, you think you know what respond is, you think you know, but do you respond? Do you listen to your sacral? Or are you
Mhm.
just saying, I know? And then
Ugh.
when I read for non-energy types, a lot of times they're like, oh my God, thank you for telling me that I don't have to keep up with everybody. Oh, but now how do I do it? And that's where it's like, I love giving people this information and them feeling very validated. But then you it's the support after that where it's like, okay, now I have this information. What do I do with it? And that's
Right.
where I want to be helpful, but
I
I'm
feel
working on like this human design hotline thing. I've got some stuff.
fun. Sounds
Yeah.
exciting.
Yeah.
What I'm seeing right now is this deep importance for the projector to be able to honor their space and to be separate, to not be this person who shows up at the first call of, could you help me? Yeah, what do you need? Like, be a person who's farther back of, it's kind of difficult to actually get a hold of me. Like, do you actually have my attention? Do you actually have an influence on me at all?
Mm-hmm. And it's hard.
Like,
And we're not supposed to be part of the group. We're on the outside. And so, and projectors are the first one to run into the middle of the group. Always. We're like, hey, what's going on? What do you need?
run into the middle and they bounce off the generators until they collapse.
Because our sacrals are like, yeah, this is so exciting.
Oh,
The
yeah.
easiest way for me to describe it is like someone just shot you with adrenaline and you really have no control. If you're around a bunch of generators, I wait tables part-time. So I'm always around a lot of energy. And when I'm at the restaurant, I'm like, boom, boom, here, there, blah, blah, blah. They put like these little symbols next to our name, and mine is running feet because I'm fast. and at first, before I learned about design, because I've worked at this restaurant for a long time, I thought that I took that as a compliment. And then when I learned about design, I was like, I think I should ask them to change this because, and I've left it just because it reminds me every time I see it to slow down. But because I see it, I'm like, oh, that's some fast feet. I'm like, I gotta go slow. It helps
right.
me.
It's not about right. It's not about asking them to change it. It's about honoring and owning yourself so that the things the others have to say, it's like, I like what I heard there.
Yeah. And I don't mind that when I'm in a group of generators, I'm very good at prioritizing. I'm super fast. Like
right.
I take a lot of tables. I do a great job. And that's nice, but it's not sustainable. First of all, it's temporary. And when I leave, I feel dead. Like I work 4 days a week, and that might as well be every day because I'm for 3 days after I'm like this. And it's not great, but it's where I'm at right now.
And I imagine your alternating appetite actually works very well in that restaurant environment.
Why do you say that?
Well, I was told about alternating appetite and this capacity to go in a circle. So to be like, do a little of this over here, a little of that over there, a little of this over here, and you make your way all the way back around to the first one, and there that is, and you move on with that, and there's this rhythm and this pattern, this cyclical thing going
I
through.
also have gate 5 in 2 activations. So I'm very rhythmic and cyclical, just like you said. Yeah, it does. I never even thought of it that way. But yeah, I do. I have an order of I call it my order of operations.
That's like one of my favorite things. That's one of the few things I actually learned from school.
Me too. I don't remember the order of operations in math, but I know order of operations means what's the order in which I'm going to do the stuff. Like, hello.
Well, it's PEMDAS, if you wanted to remember.
Like plus, minus, division.
Parentheses.
Oh.
Parentheses, addition, subtraction, multiplication, division.
I'm so bad at math.
Addition, subtraction?
Probably.
Parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. Yeah.
Got it. Yeah, but I do, and I think that's part of and this is another thing when I speak to mental projectors, because we're told not to do anything with this. Your mind is not here to make decisions. Like, don't do anything up here, but this is all we get to find. So that's kind of
don't do anything up here. That's a disgrace.
I know, but like your mind is not here to make decisions, like la la la.
Right.
And so I have to, a lot of times when I'm working with a mental projector, I let them know it's okay to rely on your logic and to use your logical mind to help you process things, as long as it's not the deciding factor, but you're gonna process. Like that's just it. Especially I have a defined ajna, so duh, like that's just how it works. So when it comes to logical things, like when I go to into the restaurant, I like a list will appear in my head. It's like this is next, this is next, this is next, this is next. And I don't even pay attention to other people. I'm like, I'm going. And
Right.
that's where I know it's okay to use this, because that's another thing I think a lot of people sort of misconstrue in human design, is that this is not, we're not supposed to do anything with this stuff up here. Right? Isn't that what you
Yeah,
hear
there's
a
a
lot
lot.
of? Don't use your mind to make decisions. Don't, this
See, right
fucks
there, that's
with
the only thing
this.
though. That's the only thing though, is don't use your minds to make decisions. You can do anything else with it.
Yeah.
And here's the fundamentals of what it can do. It can see things. It can, you can see things. You can measure what you see, and you can communicate that with other people.
Mm-hmm.
That's
You can get
basic.
inspired from this whole area to
Right.
do something new or to try something new.
And if I feel that and my body says no, I wouldn't do it.
Oh
If my body
my
says
God.
yes, or my body doesn't get in the way, if my body's willing to, then we'll see what happens,
If
trial
it's
and error, figure it out.
neutral, body neutral, you're like, let's go.
Well,
I
I mean,
think
it's
that's a good idea because you're a third line, so you have to be in it.
well, there is both let's go and there's also we're present, you know?
Oh
And
yeah.
so it's learning to listen to the unconscious field. I believe that's the most important thing, is because I've heard that somewhere between 2 and 5% of all the bits of information that our brain is being processed, 2 and 5% is conscious.
Mm-hmm. Not a lot.
And so what we're doing in the strategy and authority game is giving the authority to the 95% instead of that 5%. So instead of the 5 getting caught up in all the bullshit of the 95, it's the 95 running the show as it does, and then that 5% going, wow, that's really cool. Look at that.
Yeah. Oh my God. You have like this energy of bravery that's really cool. Like just
Thank you.
like trust. It comes across to me as bravery. I don't know why, but it's like you just it I don't know how to explain it, but you're you're like a really sparkly generator, you know?
Well,
So,
the thing is I experience satisfaction on the daily.
mhm.
Like once I learned that I can experience satisfaction that will make all the frustration I ever felt dissolve, and I can forget about it, and I can remember satisfaction daily, and that we can actually live in a generated frequency of satisfaction as the primary background. It doesn't have to be frustration. It's like,
Mhm.
oh, it's possible.
Yeah.
We can have a good time.
Yeah. Yeah, generators. Think about it. Satisfaction is such it's a fun place to be. And there's so many ways to go with that term. Like what makes you feel satisfied in life is not the same as another generator. So experiment with it and see what you like. And projectors, you just wait for that invitation. Okay.
And the thing is you don't have to be sitting around the whole time doing
No,
nothing.
no.
You live your life, you let
You
life happen.
share. For me, the easiest thing, because I'm a third line, is to remember I'm here to share. And so whenever I have the slightest inkling that I want to share something, I share it. And I try not to worry about what it looks like or sounds like, or the words that I chose, or the time of day or fucking algorithm that I'm
Mm.
sharing it to.
Yeah.
Because
Okay.
I don't always feel like I want to share, but when I do, it's like, I just want to give it. I just want to give it to you. And then I think about it afterwards and I expand upon it and things like that. But the third line really makes it easy for me and as a projector, you kind of have to make yourself visible, which is difficult for us because we're waiting for the invitation, but we also have to be visible to be invited. Like you have
Right.
to see us, so we
Uh-huh.
have to make ourselves seen, all while waiting for the invitation. So however you can make yourself seen while you're waiting, that's fun for you. My innocence motivation is always like, what is fun? What is going to be the most fun thing? And that's where I try to
Okay,
go.
I have a question then. And this is not like a literal you need to answer now question. It's a question about innocence motivation itself and the experience of it.
Mhm.
And so this is the question of how can I not be involved? What can I not be involved with?
Mhm.
Like if you're ever stressed or things are a problem, where am I not actually meant to be involved? That's, to me, that's like the highest question I can give an innocence motivation.
Mm-hmm.
And it was
I
given.
drop stuff. I go, what can I drop? What
Right.
can be dropped right now from
Uh-huh.
my energy, from my body? Like what can just
And
drop?
eventually, my theory is that eventually you won't even care about what's fun or not
Because it's
because,
all fun.
well, in a way, yeah, in a way, yeah. And also because, like, when I look at the transference of the innocence of the six, I see the
Desire.
motivation of desire in the three. And so I'm seeing that there is this potential intelligence around not being involved. It's not about I desire that or not. Oh, I'm not involved. And there's some kind of intelligence in there. And so whenever you ask yourself and you're able to let go of something, it's, to me, I see it's like getting a little bit closer to that higher intelligence. Like for me as a hopeful motivation, it's like, well, on one hand, what can I hope in? What can I believe in? I'm what's called anti-theistic hope. So I can only hope in what I understand the mechanics of.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I comprehend and now I believe in it and I hope.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And so my question is for me, like, rather than what can I not be involved with, what am I not here to interfere with? And they're different and similar questions.
Yeah, because hope and innocence are very similar, but I can see the difference and you can see the difference, I think. For me, innocence, well, mostly my entire design feels very hands off,
Yeah.
like very laissez-faire,
Uh-huh.
Janelle. And almost every part, my 3/6 mental projector, in a sense, feels very, like you said, let less. Where do you not need to involve yourself?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And that's so hard.
And that's where your intelligence is, though. I think the thing is eventually, I imagine this would be post coming off the roof. So after 50, at some point after 50, wherein there's that potential for that, what can I let go of is perhaps not so difficult. It actually became the intelligence itself of
Mm-hmm.
letting go of things at the right time and moving on to the next thing. And not because I really desired this. However, there was a higher intelligence that was actually running the show of innocence, like this
Mm-hmm.
genuine innocence of whoop, whatever it
Mm-hmm.
is.
Innocence is fun. My husband, who by the way is desire motivation, so he is my transference. And whenever we're on a walk or anything, he likes it, but he pointed out to me when we first started dating, he was like, like that you get really excited about like a leaf and like a bird. And I'm like, yes, I know this. I like it. Like, I'm like, look at this, look at this. And I've always known that about myself. And at first I thought it was silly. Like, why do I act like that? Like, why do I get so excited by this grass or this
Mm-hmm.
tree
Mm-hmm.
or stuff? And now when I learned about innocence, I was like, oh, this is innocence motivation. Like, I'm looking at this leaf and like wondering, how are you this many colors? How is this part this color? And like, how are you doing this? Oh, this bird, listen to that sound this bird makes. It doesn't sound like that bird. They're so cool. They're talking to each
Mm-hmm.
other. And it can sound like an innocence motivation can sound like a total stoner, but it's what it is. It's fine. It's like seeing things and being really like not interested, but focused and almost distracted in a way by this thing and the beauty of it and how it's here and
Yeah.
why it's here. And I'll get very distracted like
Mhm.
doing that kind of stuff. And someone will be talking to me and I'm like, what?
And for
And
me, my perception is that there's a big difference between, like, I have these moments of joy and wonder, of surprise and this satisfaction, these wonderful little moments of innocence.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
And then there's a big difference between that versus when that drive could actually be telling you what to do all the time.
mm-hmm.
Because
Yeah,
that same force could become self-disrespectful.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
when it's
That's really
not,
cool.
it's so beautiful and fun and happy.
It is pretty fun. I do like my motivation a lot. It's part of one of the parts of my design that I really like try to lean into and really enjoy. I should try to lean into all the parts though, especially the parts that freak me out.
Oh, you don't have to mentally tell yourself what to do.
Yeah, I know.
You're a
And
six-line unconscious. You,
yeah,
you, you can't help but mutate.
yeah. And
Ooh.
like I said, Sean,
Right.
my husband, is a desire
Can you hear me?
motivation. Yeah, I gotcha. He's a desire motivation, but he's also
Oh, okay.
he's a 2-4 sacral generator. Spleen, sacral, heart. That's it. He's like a caveman.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
That's awesome.
That's what I tell him. Like, you're a caveman, your spleen, which to me is very old energy, like caveman energy, and sacral, and then heart. You're these three only.
Mm-hmm. Those are fixed. And
Yeah, and it's
yours is what, head, ajna, throat, right? Or
just ajna throat.
oh, just ajna to open head.
Just
Okay.
two. I'm
Wow.
just a little
Which
with the
channel?
1156.
Okay, abstract. Gotcha.
That is it. That is what
Yeah,
I got.
I'm a 56 myself without a 11, and I'm a 17 without a 62, and a 43 without a 23.
I'm also the which one is the 43 from the ajna?
It's from the ajna aiming down towards
Yeah,
the
I'm also a 43 without a 23.
fun. Yeah.
So we get stuff in here and we're like, I wanted to,
Literally, it's
how do
hearing
I
a
get it to
vibration.
sound?
It's hearing a vibration that makes no sound,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
I mean, it's
And trying to put sound to it with your mouth. Trying to like make words out of this thing.
right. And if you don't have a 23, which the job of the 23 is to break down vibrations into acoustic elements and to form words, sentences out of it. If you don't have a 23, it's like, well, I know, and I can't tell you. Sorry. I tried.
It's just not going to come out right.
Right.
Maybe if there's a transit coming or do you have a 23, then stand right here and then we'll go.
Did you invite me or did you ask me first? You know, like you got to
Yeah.
have the
Oh, yeah.
context.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, this has been an amazing conversation. Thank you for chatting with me for so long. I just looked at the clock. I'm like, oh wow, we've been talking for a while. I didn't even notice.
Oh yeah, I
um,
haven't looked either.
this
Oh.
has been a really great conversation. And like I said, I would love to have you back on. Maybe we'll talk about not self more in depth. But why don't you tell people where to find you if they want to find you?
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you. I can send you the link as well. Essentially, I have a YouTube page, and if you search my name here, Ian Ohm, you'll probably find it. The page name is also at Dharma Science Radio. So
Awesome.
that's what it's currently called.
Okay, I'll link everything too.
Right. Yeah. Make it all nice and easy because gosh, I love these conversations. It's so fulfilling, you know?
Yeah, this was really fun. And you really, every time I have a conversation with somebody, they kind of give me new ideas about human design, but usually it's just like one. And you have me in like all of these different directions. So
Yeah.
it's really cool. Your generatorness is like,
And the
so
1-3 to the 3-6, like there's a direct transmission of information available there through the third line.
That's why my other good friend and I, when we talk, we get along so well. When we talk, we bounce stuff off, and she's a 1-3 as well, and the 3-6. I think we really, as long as the particular 3-6 isn't hyper fixated on knowing everything and needing to explain everything, because I used to be like that, and I was like, you know what, I can relax. And when her and I have conversations and she teaches me something, I can go, oh my gosh, tell me more. Okay, give me more. And I don't feel like I sound stupid. I just feel open to the information. And the idea of like studying and doing like the first line thing makes me want to barf. So I leave it to you guys.
That's totally a 6-line thing because the 6-2 who brought me into this does not really study very much at all. And like as a 1-3 with 9 first lines, it's like
it's your deal.
I studied until I could talk in design while half asleep.
See, yeah. And I thought that was a requirement of me to be of value. And then I realized as a 3-6, it's actually the opposite. It's more about getting into the mess before learning about any of it.
Right. Because you get in the mess and you start to identify it, and all of a sudden things start flowing a little better and it's cleaner and it's more organized and it's flowing the way it becomes your mess. And it's like, I like this one.
Yeah. And my 1-3 friend, she's always like, when I'm trying to figure things out and process, she goes, are you in it? Have you put yourself in it? Are you in it? Have you started? And I'm like, no, I'm trying to figure it out before she's like, start and then figure it out. And I'm like, I know, but It feels so counterintuitive and uncomfortable, but that's where the beauty is. If you're in your human design experiment and it feels super uncomfortable, you're doing a
Yes,
great
you're on the
job.
right track.
Yeah, we are very proud of you over
It's going
here.
to feel really uncomfortable until you suddenly recognized, maybe for a moment, like, wow, I was more relaxed than I've ever been. That was nice.
Yeah, deconditioning it's not all hearts and flowers. It's gonna be really uncomfortable and you're gonna feel like you're going the wrong way or like you messed something up somewhere, but you didn't. You're great. We think that you're great.
Perfecto.
So everybody go find Ian and watch his videos. I'm gonna come watch your YouTube channel now because I'm
I
interested.
just I just uploaded one this morning that was a lot of fun, and that's what started my wave today. So feel free to let me know what you think. Maybe post a
We
comment or something,
yeah, we will. We'll definitely check it out. And thanks to you guys for listening. And we'll have Ian on again because he's fantastic. So bye guys.
Sayonara.